about them Cowboys. It's the Cowboys Squad, sponsored by Game Time. Everything Dallas Cowboys every week. Covering all the big hits and game-changing plays from America's team the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Get ready and squad up. It's the Cowboys Squad Show, starting now.
Well, with the first preseason game in the books, the Cowboys are getting ready to leave Oxnard and return home for preseason game number 2 against the Ravens on Saturday night. But before that, we have all of us together for the first time for another edition of the Cowboys Squad Show. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Football season is around the corner. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now. All right. Well, like I said, we got everybody, the 2 co-hosts of the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast, Marcus Mosher and Landon McCool, and of course, the one and only former Cowboys coach, Glenn Stretch Smith. Great to see everybody. Great to be with you as we are in the middle of the week. The Cowboys heading back home from Oxnard to finish up camp in Frisco with a big game Saturday night, preseason game number 2 against the Ravens. Guys, let's kind of jump into it. I want to start with Landon and Marcus, the 2 of you. What were your big takeaways from the Rams game, having a couple days to soak everything in? And what have you guys been talking about this week on the Daily Locked On Cowboys podcast?
Yeah, I think the first kind of big takeaway is that the Cowboys are still a ways away from being a team that's ready to compete. It feels like, at least, as far as the folks that were on the field playing. I think, honestly, that my first big takeaway was just kind of surprise at how few of their, starters or relative key players were actually on the field. I mean, I think we've been kind of trying to feel this out, exactly how they were going to play this preseason. We have a new coach. There's obviously been kind of a shift in how teams do these preseasons now that a lot of these teams do these kind of coordinated shared practices with other teams. So we're still, it's not like it used to be where you could almost set your watch to, okay, the starters will play in the third game for, half a series and half a game, and then, they'll sit for the rest of it. And, that's when you're getting your starters. So we got kind of different reports before the game started that, Booker was going to play, and then suddenly he's not playing. And so it just became a very interesting, situation just to see who actually ended up out there. And it was certainly less of the kind of, like I said, key players than I expected.
I just want to say, first of all, I'm really excited that we started this podcast at 6 p.m. Central Time. And this has got to be the most watched podcast in the world at this time, and not that Taylor Swift one that's going on right now as we speak, right? Never mind. No, I think I agree with everything.
You have a tour you want to announce, Marcus? Or
for tomorrow's Locked On Cowboys, you're going to make sure you want to tune in for that
Excellent.
one.
I can play the drums.
I used to play the trumpet a long time ago, but that feels like ages. Anyways, back to the actual Cowboys talk. I have a hard time ever coming out of the preseason, whether it's, having positive or negative takes, because more often than not, what we see in the preseason isn't real, for the lack of a better word. Like every year there's guys that look awesome in the preseason, and then we get to the regular season and we're reminded that preseason is kind of fake football, right? So, yeah, obviously we were concerned with what we saw last Saturday, but 30 of the Cowboys' top 35 players didn't play in the game. So it's the Rams backups beat the Cowboys backups. I mean, maybe we could have a discussion about who has better depth, but I just don't know how much of this is actually going to matter.
Unless somebody gets hurt.
Unless
you get multiple guys hurt. And is attrition not part of the game? I'm not, let me get on, I'm not wanting that at all, but I will say that it is a top end heavy roster. That's the way it feels right now. And that's the way it's going to feel for a while. So going to have some real luck when it comes to the, no injury bugaboo mentality.
And they already don't have, they've had some awful injury luck. And that's probably part of the reason why they scaled back who was playing, because I don't know how many more injuries they can afford if they want to be competitive early in the year. They're already going to be going into the season without an all-pro cornerback and multiple backups. They're already going in without Overshown. Your left tackle is dealing with a knee injury. They probably felt like the risk versus reward just isn't great enough to put those guys out on the field. And I might disagree with that a little bit, but it's hard to argue with the logic there.
Well, and also there's the idea that, like, if you don't have a full group out there, you may not want to put the rest of the players. Like, for instance, the offensive line. Like, it was interesting when we did hear that Tyler Booker potentially might go out there and get some snaps. But the truth of the matter is, if no one else on the offensive line except for Nathan Thomas, who also didn't get a whole bunch of the snaps, if no one else in the starting offensive line is going to be out there, there's not really a reason to put, BB or Tyler Smith out there, because it's like they need work with the rest of their guys, not necessarily, just get out there and play some scrubs. So I also think that playing the Rams in the first game also kind of contributed to this kind of really pulling back their starters, because the Rams are also notorious for not playing any of their starters throughout the preseason. So I wonder if, like, now that we're playing Ravens, and honestly, I don't know off the top of my head their kind of way of handling things versus the Rams. I just know the Rams specifically are infamous for pulling back their starters. The fact that they play the Ravens this week, does that mean that we'll see some more key starters out there, key players? That'll.
Yeah, right. So it'll be interesting to see who all plays for the Cowboys this week. Keep an eye out. We should have a better idea by the time we get to the end of the week. So again, shameless plug for the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast.
Nicely done, Marcus. Nicely done. Well, Brian Schottenheimer said after the game Saturday night that there is a plan and there's going to be different waves of players that are going to play and not play. So I'm assuming that we're going to see some new faces, or maybe some different faces on Saturday night. But the other big thing that we were talking about Saturday was Joe Milton's performance and his Cowboys debut. Milton himself had a lot to say about it. He actually gave himself a D for his performance. He was not happy with it. Said that he was just a little too amped up, but he felt like he settled down, and then had the elbow collision late in the game and came out. But with that said, Brian Schottenheimer said yesterday that, hey, you know what? We need to find out about Joe Milton. We need to see him, and that's code for we want to give him a lot of snaps and see what he can do, and if he's going to be the backup to Dak, because if you guys have all said, and rightfully so, it's a really important position on this team. So. What are your thoughts? What are you thinking about with Joe Milton as he gets ready for the Ravens?
I want Coach to answer this one. Go ahead, Coach. I want your thoughts on Milton.
Well, because you've already heard me, and you know, so you're sitting there with your little drum set, and you're waiting for Stretch to give the answer, so you can give it a ba-da-pow.
There you go. I'm ready. Go ahead.
I don't like what I saw. I don't like happy feet. I don't like the ball coming out all over the place. I don't care if he has an arm strong enough to throw it, 8 car washes and the ball never gets wet, and all that's cute, and that's all sounds great. But I want to see a guy, and I'm glad that they're doing it, because he needs every single snap that he can get, and they being the Cowboys personnel department, need to see every single rep that he can get. I'm not talking about practice. I'm not talking about any of that. I'm talking about in a game where guys are coming after you. And I think they need to see that, and I think he needs to see it. And then they're going to have to make an evaluation on if they really believe, I believe it was Landon or one of you said, the risk-reward proposition of what it is when you have a quarterback that's been hurt, 3 times in the last 5 years. Are you in the risk-reward business of giving this guy significant snaps if something were to happen? And I hope, like I said, I want to see Dak go have a great year. I want to see, I do. I want to see the Cowboys get to a 12-win platform. It's so much easier to come on here and talk about the positives and the winning side of things. But what I saw out of Joe Milton is a player that needs to play a bunch, and I mean a bunch. So in the next 2 games, if he can get every single one of those snaps, I'm perfectly fine with that. And then they're going to have to decide, being the Cowboys front office and the Cowboys scouting staff, is this guy, are we comfortable giving this guy a half of a game if he has to get us out of a situation? Are we comfortable giving him multiple games if something were to happen? Because I think that's what you have to decide coming out of this next 2 games with that quarterback and what he showed you, or the lack of what he showed you in week 1.
Yeah, I think they're in a tough spot, really, because and Milton's kind of put them in a tough spot a little bit, where they, Milton has looked better than he looked in that game in practice. And I think that they, went into that preseason game excited to see what he was going to do. And I think he, really just came out hot and struggled and wasn't able to do even simple things. He had huge holes in his game at training camp as well. But I think you add that on top of the situation where he was overexcited in this game, was throwing it hot. It just didn't look good. But you saw on display the issues that Joe Milton has had. He's not pulling the trigger when he needs to. He's, I think Coach said it, happy feet, right? Instead of calm feet in the pocket and delivering the football on time and in a timely manner. When you see him do that, it looks great. It looks right. He, when he sees it and he delivers the ball and it's a natural throwing motion and he's hitting the back foot and he's throwing the ball, like that's when it looks good. When he's being asked to sit in a pocket and read a defense and he's just not sure if he should throw the ball or not, despite having that sort of arm that you could, like Coach said, throw a ball through a car wash without getting wet. It's one of those things where he has to get his processor up and going faster, or he has to pull the trigger on being a runner quicker. But he can't just stand in the pocket endlessly and hope that he's not going to get hit, because eventually he is going to get hit, or he's going to throw it too late, or there's never a good solution or a good outcome if the quarterback is standing in the pocket holding the ball too long. And that's what Joe Milton is doing a lot.
And Jeff, one of the things I want to see is just improvement. He doesn't need to go out there and light the world on fire. I just want to see him play better than what he did a week ago, because I think that was our biggest problem with Trey Lance last year. Is it just didn't feel like there was any improvement. In fact, it kind of felt like he got worse as the preseason went along. If Milton can just show us some improvement in the areas that Landon laid out, I think Cowboys fans will feel much better about the quarterback situation. But if it's another one of these really rough outings where he is holding onto the football too long, he's missing the wide open throws, then we're probably back here next Wednesday having a different conversation.
Well, can I just say real quick too, they're in a tough spot because they need to figure out, like Coach said, they need to figure out whether he can do this or not. And the other part of the problem is that for all those snaps that you are getting to try to, expose what you've got here, to kind of uncover what you've got here at Joe Milton, those are also snaps that you're not giving to Will Grier, who, you make it.
Do you have a chance?
What'd you say?
Does Will Grier have a chance?
No, but I think Will Grier is going to be on this team, and I think that there's a chance that they may have to get to a point where, for a little while, until Joe Milton kind of crosses a certain threshold, that Grier may have to be QB2 unless they go out and get a veteran guy. So they're in a tough spot. They definitely need to give Milton as many snaps as possible, but they also have to be kind of keeping an eye on the exit door to see, hey, what do we do if this guy just isn't good enough to be our QB2? What's our backup plan? Is it Will Grier? And do we have enough snaps and opportunity to get Will Grier ready to be the backup quarterback if Joe Milton doesn't pan out at the end of the preseason?
I mean, I'll ask you guys, you sign Micah, do you have any money to go get a backup?
What is it, 14-minute March
I can't
stretch?
believe it's tied to the Dak quarterback.
I'm asking. I'm dead serious. Do
you have enough money to get a quarterback?
Do you
yes,
have money to go get a veteran backup quarterback. I mean, I'm glad I'm auditioning for the damn improv this afternoon. I'm dead serious.
Yes.
No,
They don't have any
they
money.
have enough
to
money.
Get a backup.
The
I
problem
think
is
they do
this,
have enough money.
Who's the
But
quarterback?
that's because the quality of the guy that's going to be available in the market is not going to be great. That's the issue, is that you're getting, a veteran guy who, like, do you even want to pay $10 million to? No, but
No, I don't know what. I mean, I haven't studied it that close, but I mean, what's going to be available at the I mean, who gets cut and what's available out there? I haven't. It's not like I've spent a whole lot of time looking at it, but.
Well,
I mean,
there's options out there, right? There's guys on the street that there's teams that have a couple of different guys that don't have their own quarterbacks solution figured out, but they might be willing to trade you someone. If Dak were to get hurt long term, like, at the early part of the season, I mean, would you go talking to the Atlanta Falcons to see, what
hell yeah, you go see if you can get Kirk
he stops on the list of. Yeah.
So I think there's options out there, but Kirk Cousins isn't a great option. Like, I mean, I especially because you have to pay a lot to get him and pay him a lot once you get him.
I would want no part of Kirk Cousins, none.
I don't disagree necessarily.
Be tricky to absorb his contract, and they'd have to find a way to make that work too. But
and what's the point? Like, at that point, like, just ride Joe Milton and lose a bunch of games and get a nice draft pick next year. At that point.
Well, for whatever it's worth, Joe seemed pretty confident that he was fine and he was good and that he's got this and he's going to bounce back. So we'll see. Yeah. We'll see on Saturday. Looking forward to it. All right. One position I want to run by you that we haven't talked a lot about in a while, but I think it's kind of important. We'll do that when we come back. Just getting started on this Wednesday night, new time right now with the preseason. We got some people that are commenting, and thank you to everybody that is watching live. Back with more as the Cowboys Squad show continues. All right. Well, it's that time of the year, right? And that's probably the best way that I could say it. But August 26th is officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, eyeing a long shot division winner, or ready to crown your Super Bowl champ before week one even kicks off, this is your moment. So want to take a flyer on the MVP race? Maybe maybe it'll be Dak. Maybe he'll surprise everybody. Want to pick the Cowboys to win it all in August? You can do that. Visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bets now, because Futures Day is one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game. All right, welcome back to the Cowboys Squad show. We got everybody here. We've got the coach, Glenn Stretch Smith, Marcus Mosher, Landon McCool, and we're getting ready for the Cowboys and the Ravens on Saturday night at AT&T Jerry World. It's going to be great. The next two games are going to be at home, including the Falcons, a week from Friday night. But wanted to ask you guys, we talked a lot in the offseason about what were the Cowboys going to do at running back. And so they've gone with the running back by committee approach. We got to see Phil Maffa, who looked, I thought, pretty good on Saturday. Didn't get to see Jaden Blue, hoping to see Jaden Blue on Saturday, but he missed practice today. Yeah. So that means he's probably not going to play. We'll see on Saturday against the Ravens. But where do we stand right now, guys, with the Cowboys running back situation?
It seems like to me that, like, as it stands right now, that Javonte Williams would probably be running back one in whatever committee that they're doing. It just based on the way that they've been rotating these guys in. Miles Sanders has just been out for long stretches. It feels like he's working his way back in these last few days, but he's just been basically out. So it's kind of hard to tell where he lands sometimes in this pecking order. I don't know that he's been taking, the snaps that he's been taking now that he's working back in with like the 2s and 3s necessarily. But as far as like in the hierarchy of those top guys, I imagine that, they're going to try to spread it around a little bit with Williams kind of being the primary guy early on. But I think the more that they see of Blue, and if they feel like they can trust him on stuff, I think they're going to try to feed him some opportunities as well, just because they feel like he adds an explosive element there that they don't have with any of these other guys.
It feels like everything is still up in the air a little bit. And I think the Jaden Blue injury, it doesn't sound like he's going to play against the Ravens, but it's kind of just made it where we don't really know. And honestly, we might not know until week 1. We might not even know after week 1. Like, this could be a very fluid situation where they're trying to use the first month of the season to figure out, okay, who are the top 2 guys? How do we utilize them? And then what's the rest of the roster look like? So I don't think we're suddenly going to get a resolution here over like the next week. I think this thing is going to play out for a little bit longer.
And what was said coming into the season, we're running football more. We're going to run it. We're going to run it. Okay. Run it with who? What
doesn't matter.
What are we inside zone? We an outside zone team? You guys are drawing me off sides. We're the same place we were when we were talking about it in the off season. I don't think it's very clear cut. I do think that they want Williams to take the job, but I'm not real sure that right now where they're at that they feel that comfortable saying, "Hey, he's the guy."
Here's the other thing, Stretch. Why do they have to decide right now? They don't.
They They absolutely don't. Yeah, absolutely don't. They don't have to. I mean, there's no pressure to make a right now decision. I'm saying I don't know, and I haven't been out there, so I don't know how they're dispersing the reps or what guys are doing with when the ones go. It sounded like before Blue got hurt, it sounded like he was taking a fair share of the reps with the ones. Sure. So then that leads you to believe that they do have confidence in him, or they would have somebody else in there, correct?
I definitely agree with that. And I think that he has been getting reps with the ones. And I do think when he's been healthy, he's been out there enough to make us believe that they're working him in to get him ready to play, right? Like he's going to be a part of that running game. So I definitely would say that what we have learned, just kind of chipping away at that situation, right? That Javonte Williams is gonna have a role. Obviously, I think Jaden Blue has clearly been confirmed to have a role once he's healthy. I think where Miles Sanders is still a question, just because we need to see more reps and where he is with all this stuff. I think Phil Maffa is a guy who started to insert himself into this situation a little bit more, especially the last few days. He had a good game against the Rams. He's one of the few bright spots. And I think that, in the practices this last few days, it feels like he's kind of been getting more work with the ones and had some successful runs. And I think that on top of that, too, we've also seen that they're going to be more of a power counter team, at least more than they were. I think, every team kind of majors in inside zone, right? Like that's the predominant run scheme that most teams are playing with. I think what you do with that other 30% of your run game is kind of what defines you. And I think that the Cowboys are going to start to diversify that other 30% a lot more with more pin and pull, power, counters, reverse stuff. And then on top of that, we've seen them diversify who's being in the backfield, right? We've seen a lot of we've seen enough of Turpin in the backfield to know that it's not a fluke, that it's not just like a thing that they're trying. Like this is something that they're probably going to do for 1 or 2 snap reps a game, maybe 1 or 2 carries a game. We've seen Lipke take carries as well. I just truly believe that not only are we not going to get like an announcement on who running back 1 is at any point, I wouldn't be shocked if it just changes week to week based on who the opponent is on who is getting the ball more often than the other players.
Jeff, I have a hot take. Are you ready? It's
I'm ready.
25-minute mark.
Yeah.
I might be like the only Cowboy fan that just doesn't care that much about who the starting running back is, because I think all these guys, or at least 3 of the 4, are probably going to play a lot. And if the Cowboy, I don't think that who the running back is going to decide whether the Cowboys can run the ball well or not. It's going to be the guys up front, right? It's going to be the offensive line. If the blocking up front sucks, I don't care who you have back there at running back. It's not going to matter, right? But if the blocking up front is really good, I do think you have some guys like Javonte Williams who can get what's blocked. And I think you can hopefully, with someone like Jaden Blue and maybe Phil Maffa, actually gain a little bit of value. But I care more about, like, hey, is Tyler Booker a starting NFL guard right away? Is Tyler Guyton healthy? What does he look like? Has Cooper Beebe taken that next step? What does Clayton Adams' run game look like? I care way more about that than I do who's actually running the ball.
Yeah. Well, and
I agree.
Look, we've talked about it, about how, look, a lot of teams don't play anybody in the preseason, right? And that's fine, and they're okay. I think we all agreed, selfishly, a few snaps would probably help, but you don't want to risk the injuries, right? So, to your point, I think, if we don't see anybody coming out of the gate that Thursday night against the Eagles, it'll probably be, okay, we'll pick one guy and we'll just try to find the hot hand and take it from there.
The other thing is, Jeff, here is just because let's say they start Javonte Williams in week 1, that doesn't mean that they can't go out and get a running back. We've seen over the last couple of years, like, running backs get traded during the season. Just a couple of years ago, we had Christian McCaffrey traded midseason, and he goes in and helps the 49ers get to the NFC Championship game. There are going to be running backs available. We don't need to list them all right now, but I think you guys can kind of figure out some of these teams that are going to likely struggle out of the gate. If the Cowboys absolutely feel like a running back is the only need on the roster, there'll be guys available when they want them.
Yeah, I mean, you make the right point. I mean, can they physically get a hat on a hat, and does the scheme look okay? Great, and that's right. But still, at the end of the day, if everything goes perfect up front, the back's got to make the safety miss at 5.5, 6 yards. Otherwise, 6-yard run, 5-yard run. That's what I want to know, is which one of these guys, because I don't know, which one of these guys can make the safety miss in the hole. Which one has a little shake to him? Which one can take that 5-yard, 6-yard run and make it a 36-yard run? And I'm not sure that if you just put them up on the board, I'm not sure if I had $20 to bet, I'm not sure which one I could bet on. And that's why you're saying maybe they don't have to decide right now. But if I'm guessing by what I've seen from a rep standpoint, I'm going to guess that they think that Blue is the guy that's the best guy to maybe make that guy miss at 6 yards and hit a triple instead of a single.
I think you're 100% right, and I think that there's a reason that he's starting to get those reps, because I think that they do view him as that guy, and I think the specific reps that you've seen show that as well. It's not a case where he's just a fast guy and they're tossing the ball on the outside and he's outrunning everybody in a non-padded practice. He's making people miss in the hole. He's using his eyes and his feet and the marriage of those two together to use start-stop ability to break angles on linebackers and make defenders stop their feet, and then exploding in a different direction. And he's using it in a similar way that we saw with Tony Pollard, which was kind of what was so surprising about a guy like Tony Pollard, who was a converted wide receiver, was that you just expected him to be a toss guy. Like, hey, let's run outside zone and let this guy, just break everything back one way. But that wasn't the case. Tony was really good at using his feet and his eyes together to create opportunity in between the tackles. And I think we've seen a little bit about that with Blue. I think that's what's exciting about Blue. I think the issue with Blue is about all the other stuff, like getting him prepared for all the other intricacies of playing the running back position enough that they can trust him for more than, 10 to 15 snaps a game or whatever that they're probably going to be looking to do early in the season.
All right. One final running back question, and then we'll move on. Give me your thoughts with where things stand. What did you think of Phil Maffa? What did you think of Malik Davis? And what do you see in the future for Deuce Vaughn?
Malik Davis is a really fun preseason running back who's been around, but I don't see him making the roster. Feel the same about Deuce Vaughn. I think he's going to be probably a practice squad guy. I'm really intrigued by Phil Maffa. I do think his running style is a little bit different than everybody else on this team. If they want to add some physicality and oomph to the run game, I think he can help you do that.
Okay.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that evaluation. I don't know that whoever the down the line guy is also needs to play special teams. If you're going to have as many guys down early in this year from a defensive back standpoint, then you're going to have some guys who can go cover kicks, some guys who can, contribute on that or to that phase of the game. And if he can contribute to that phase of the game, he will make the football team. There won't be any doubt about that. So, hey, I'm more inclined to say right now, can Phil Maffa cover a punt? I mean, can he get it done on that side of the game?
I'm so glad you brought that up, Coach, because yesterday we actually got reports that from Joe Hoyt that Maffa was staying after practice with the coaches, specifically working on special team rep stuff.
Nice.
So to me, that reads, and I'll open to your interpretation too. That reads like, hey, they're trying to get this kid ready. Like he will have a role on this team potentially soon. So good stuff. I completely agree. And I think if you see stuff like that, and where these down roster wide receivers and running backs working with coaches on special teams, blocking on punt or covering a kick, those are usually guys that, they're trying to figure out a way to get you on the bottom half of this roster, but you have to play special teams in order to be there.
All right. Quick timeout. When we come back, there's another group I want to talk to you guys about, and we have a contract story, a Cowboys contract story, and it's not Micah. Nothing to do with Micah Parsons. So we'll do that when we come back. Let you think about that one for a minute. We'll do that when we return. A lot of people jumping in via the comment crew. We got Stephen White. He's back in. Willy Wonka leaving the chocolate factory to
I think he needs to go back based on some of the comments, but that's okay.
Maybe the Oompa Loompas could play running back.
There you go.
All right. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. All right. Well, we're getting ready for some big fantasy football action as well. It's that time of the year. And this episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff almost here, and that means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. So, to celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout the month of August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues, a killer new way to play fantasy football on Yahoo, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated each week until there's one team left standing. With the season around the corner, now is the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classics, you can still play in head-to-head leagues, private leagues, or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. All right,
Jeff, I just want to show Coach something. So if you, Coach, I know you've never played fantasy football before, but if you win fantasy,
I tell you, this guillotine league has got me.
I know.
Shot.
Listen, we're gonna get you on
the edge of my seat.
They give you championship rings. Have you seen one of these championship rings?
Wow.
They give you these big belts. Look at this.
Wow.
Big belts.
Look at that.
And if you're really, really good, you get a nice big trophy that you can
Wow.
hold. So
Hey,
Lots of swag,
I feel like
lots
a
of
real
swag.
winner right now.
I mean, when you sashay around Erie, do you have all that stuff on with you? I see you've got your hoodie on and you got your belt on and your ring and you. Is that how you go to the golf course all the time?
Anywhere.
Go like, let this guy play.
You should see that when I walk into the restaurant with my wife. It's pretty awesome with carrying my Lombardi and my big fancy ring.
His belt and his trophy weigh more than his kids. He's
That's
got
true.
like he's not gonna be able to. He's not gonna be able to carry his kids by the end.
This is what we're competing for over on Yahoo Fantasy. So there you go. How's that for a plug?
Wow, that is outstanding,
man.
Mad Marcus, look at that bling.
I might just wear the ring all show long. You know?
Yeah, you should. Looks good on you, buddy.
Thank you.
Yeah, damn. That's some hardcore right there. I love that.
All right, sorry, Beautiful. Jeff. I didn't mean to hijack the show, but go ahead.
No, hey, absolutely, man. That's good stuff, and props to Yahoo with these new ideas. The Guillotine League, man. I like that. Killer. All right. One of the things I wanted to ask you about. I know there were kind of mixed reviews after the Rams game about Israel Mukuamu and the plays that he made. Wanted to get your thoughts on that. And also, very quietly, Deron Bland said this week that he hopes to have a new deal before week 1. So, everybody wants to get paid. So maybe we can get in line before the season starts. No, but what do you think about where Deron is coming from and any different thoughts on where the Cowboys secondary is right now as we get closer?
I'll start with Deron Bland. I think it's smart by Bland to try to get a deal done now, right? We're just a year removed from an all-pro season, struggled to stay healthy last year. That's some bad luck. But I think if he has a good season, but he's not getting 8 or 9 interceptions, I do wonder if he's not going to get the money on the open market that maybe he thinks he deserves, right? Because he's going to view himself as an all-pro corner, the same way that Derek Stingley and Sauce Gardner and Patrick Surtain do, right? But we know he's not really in that caliber of corners. He's kind of in the next tier down. So I don't think it's a bad strategy for Bland to try to get his money now. And I also don't think it's a bad, plan for the Cowboys to pay him now because he's going to have a huge role in this defense. And frankly, I don't think the defense can survive if he goes down with an ankle sprain for 4 games. So I do think it's in the interest of both sides to go out and get a deal done before week 1.
Yeah, I think, I'll cover the Mukuamu stuff. Like, I think for Mukuamu, his versatility is like what's really been kind of stood out this camp. And we knew about that before. I mean, he kind of was more of a safety, and now he kind of came into camp as a nickel guy. But they've actually been working him on the outside as well. And I think that's what's been really interesting. He played, obviously, outside corner at South Carolina. And so he obviously has experience there. But it's been interesting to see him kind of go up against, and he's had some mixed results against Pickens and CD at times. But I think the fact that he could go out there and give you snaps, especially if you're going to play like, more silo-based coverages and not make him run across the field to chase guys across the field, I think he can give you snaps on the outside. So just, proving his worth a little bit.
I'm sure that what you see Eberflus doing is trying to evaluate to get these guys in the best position, knowing that probably, Diggs and Ravel are not going to be there. What you guys think, maybe 4 weeks into the season, maybe earliest for one of those guys. So I think when you see him and guys lining up in different positions, I think he's really trying to evaluate where they fit best. I'll say this. I mean, as far as he's concerned, I don't think he's a safety because I've seen him miss too many tackles. Leverage-wise, he doesn't show great leverage to come downhill and make a play. But I do think he's long and can run. And guess what? Use him to the best that you could use him. If that's on the outside, well, then play him on the outside and give some of these other guys a shot on the inside where it is a tougher position because the guy's got a two-way go and you don't have the boundary to help you. So it will be interesting these next 2 games to see how they evaluate, who they evaluate, and then you'll be able to see just watching the film by what guys think and how they value guys in the secondary.
Yeah, it's tough too, Coach, because like you look at McCwamu and it's like you don't necessarily want to stick him in man coverage, especially a water bug in the middle and have to get a two-way go. But I like him in dropping into zone coverage, right? Because of that length really can close passing windows. So you don't want to put him out there and have it be a tell for what kind of defense you're playing, because you can't necessarily trust him. But it's like you like him doing certain things, and that's why I think we see them kind of trying to mix and match some of these guys with Keemon Hall and Childress, because I think maybe those guys are a little bit better at being sticky in man coverage in the slot than what you see from McCwamu. But I think they like what McCwamu brings you as a blitzer, as a guy who can plug up passing lanes in zone coverage. It's tough because they don't have one guy who they feel like can really do it all.
Right, and then how much do they blitz? I mean, how much is he going to really major in that? I mean, I think those are all things you're going to have to take a look, see it, and evaluate before he gets into week one against a really good offensive team.
It feels like they've been blitzing way more than Eberflus normally does.
Yeah,
it was that's actual reality. Yeah.
We had Cody Alexander on the podcast in the summer, and he said that Matt Eberflus's favorite type of blitz is to send that slot corner. That was by far his most commonly called blitz with Chicago. Maybe that is going to be a staple of their defense this year, and that changes who you want to have in the slot.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. One other little note from week one and moving on to week two, back to the offense. The fact that Tyler Booker didn't play, and he was the only first round pick, or
the only healthy first round pick.
Yeah, that didn't play.
Yep.
Does that mean anything to you guys? Any big deal?
I mean,
I would have liked to see him play, and it sounds like he was ready to play, and then some higher ups told him, "Hey, maybe not so fast." And I don't know if that's because they were concerned about the field, or whether they were concerned about the center and the tackle playing next to him, or maybe they just felt like they overworked him during the week of practice. I don't know. I would have liked to see him for a few snaps, but I can almost guarantee that we will see him in week 2 of the preseason.
Yeah,
I want to see.
Yeah, and you think we'll see him because now they have confidence in Hoffman and Bass, two guys that played pretty well. Yeah. I mean, now you feel better about putting him in there because hey, you got hoping nothing happens, but you've evaluated and you do have some depth at that position.
Yeah, I think you have to feel it out a little bit at this point, and right now they're kind of just not exactly sure how they're going to handle it, and I think they just need a little bit of clarity, because it feels like they're pulling guys back last minute. They were going to play some starters, but I feel like we're going to find out against the Ravens, like how they play some of these guys, and if this was a reaction to an agreement between the Cowboys and the Rams, or if that was just a normal thing that they're not actually going to be playing very many starters in the preseason. Because I really don't believe that, like, if Marcus, you tell me if you disagree, but to me, if they don't play the starters or a majority of those types of players in this game, I can't imagine they're playing them in the third
zero
game,
chance,
right?
No.
Yeah, so I think this is the real opportunity to kind of see, how they are playing this. Was the first game a reaction to the fact that their opponents weren't going to play any starters, so why risk their starters? That makes some sense, especially on the offensive line where you kind of want to see the whole group together. I guess you can make that argument here, but I agree. I do think that I want to see especially these young guys get opportunities, and if that means that you got to throw out BB and Tyler Smith and Terrence Steele for like a series or 2 series, or they should do at least that and give these guys opportunities to kind of take that next step and just that extra speed before we get to week 1 and you're playing some of the best interior defensive linemen in all of football.
All right, when we come back, final thoughts, final segment. The Cowboys broke camp in Oxnard today, and Jerry Jones met with the media and had all kinds of things to say before they boarded the plane to head back here. We'll get into that. We'll get some final thoughts about this week and looking ahead to Saturday night and game 2 against the Ravens. We'll do that literally in seconds when we return. This is the Cowboys Squad Show. All right, we are back. Told you I was going to be quick. Welcome back. I love that.
I just had to have my belt right here. This is Locked On Dynasty. It's a big championship belt stretch. I don't. If you want to borrow it sometime to take out to dinner with your wife, just let me know.
And I'm telling you, I'm telling you that seriously, that made my whole evening because I can see you. I mean, now down here in Texas, we got these rodeo guys. They have those big. They have big license plate belt buckles anyway, so it'll absolutely fit in down here.
You'll blend in. Yeah.
Can't wait.
Yeah, that's honestly one of the better belts I think I've ever seen. That's I don't know where you got that, but it's very impressive with
Marcus
the Locked On
logo
over
his shoulder so he can.
I last week when I was in Canada, I took it to the Hall of Fame to show everybody, just like this, over my shoulder the whole time. So
nice, outstanding. Mad Marcus.
And riding your skateboard around town.
Yeah, listen, I'm not one of those young kids, Stretch. It was just showing what hard work and dedication can get you in life. That's all.
Nice. Great example. Good stuff. That's awesome. All right. Well, hey, the Cowboys left Oxnard today, and they're heading back to Frisco, where they will finish up 2 preseason games at home before the season opener against the Eagles. Jerry Jones met with the media, had a number of different things to say, including revealing and sharing with everybody that he has been able to overcome stage 4 cancer. I mean, that's
pretty unbelievable, huh?
Yeah. I mean, props to him. Praise God. What a blessing. And man, I mean, that's just another layer to his story.
Yeah. And how fitting it's coming out right now during the Netflix stuff. And I mean, all that I like today that Sportico put out there, what the team is worth and what the second valuation of a second NFL team would be the Rams, and his is worth $2.5 billion more. And hey, Jerry's got it rolling right now. If he can figure out a way to get his team in the playoffs, he's got it going the right direction.
Yeah, we should note the Cowboys are the most valuable football franchise in the world. Again, no surprise.
Jerry was also winning that part of the game. That's for sure.
Yeah, with the Netflix documentary coming out next week, I believe. Yeah, next week. And of course, he was asked again about Micah and said there's nothing new, and there's no, as Coach said, there's no timetable, no deadline. Micah kind of backed off a little bit from after making the trade request. He made one comment today and said, "My mouth is shut." So I guess we'll just wait and see.
Do we think the Cowboys are seriously considering letting Micah Parsons play this year on the 5th-year option? I mean, I think that, to me, that sounds a little crazy, but it's not unprecedented for their history, right? Like, they had Dak Prescott played on the franchise tag. DeMarcus Lawrence played on a franchise tag. Dalton Schultz played on a franchise tag. Do you think they're seriously considering letting this play out and maybe seeing how Micah, I don't want to say plays in the new defense because he's going to be fine. He's going to be great in the new defense, but maybe seeing how the leadership is going and the maturity and stuff, all that stuff before they give him this monster deal?
I'm sure they're going to say that for sure.
Well, yes, of course.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, they don't need to see any of that stuff to pay him. They've clearly made their decision about what they're going to do.
I agree, by the way. I don't think they need to. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think ultimately, I personally think Coach is right that Jerry's dug in, that he feels like they had an agreement. I think that the last chance opportunity here is to wait. Somebody will go to Jerry and be like, Jerry, we really need to get this done, and either Jerry will be moved and it'll get done, or they won't. Then they'll tag him and go through the season and deal with it that way. I think at this point, like trying to guess or it's funny because like I understand it's like these reporters' jobs to ask these questions, and I if I feel for them, but it's like you're continuing to ask these questions like Jerry's gonna like give us any answer. Like the only answer that we're gonna get there is when it's either done or we've gone into the season and there's no deal. Like there's not like he's not going to give us some kind of thing where he's like, oh, there's a deadline and it's this time. No. They're not going to talk about. It's very straightforward. Each side is waiting for the other side to blink, and blink just means call to ask to get this deal done. And I feel like it's probably happened that each side has also blinked already a couple different times. And that there's a certain amount of Micah trying to put the genie back into the bottle with the way that the whole situation went early on with Micah and Jerry. And I think right now each side is upset with the other side about the way that this has been handled, but they just both have handled this poorly, and so they just need to kind of put things aside and come to the table and get a deal done. I have a feeling it wouldn't take them very long if they did, but it's about egos now, so who knows how long that's going to take.
I mean, I didn't. If you would have told me, a week going into camp, we'd be right here where we are right now, the middle of August, I would have said, no way. I mean, there's no way we would have been here. Now that we're here, what is he scheduled to make 24 this year? Is that right?
22, I believe. 22.1.
Yeah. So if he had, so at 1.2, whatever that is, divided by 17, are they going to play hardball and say, okay, are you going to sit out and miss this first game check, 2 game checks, 3 game checks?
No chance. No.
I don't know. None of it. When Steven got on the pregame show here, it wasn't Jerry on it. And Steven made the comment he's under contract. I get the feeling that they being Jerry and Steven are dug in to say, you know what, we'll see here. And I'm kind of surprised that there hasn't been like a hard a date put out there. Hey, if we don't have this done by here, I'm just going to go in and play the season for the 22 or whatever that is.
24. We just got confirmation. But I feels like there is. To me, it's week 1. If we don't have a deal done by week 1, my guess is Micah shows up and plays, and he just says, hey, I'm not doing any contract discussion during the offseason or during the season. We'll chat next offseason. And man, if we get to next offseason where Micah doesn't have a deal done, that's when things are going to get really hairy, because now we're talking about him being franchise tagged, and we know how much players hate being tagged. Let's hope it doesn't get to that point.
Well, just adding to all the noise is, number one, you have reporters saying what coaches said, that, hey, according to sources, that Jerry's upset and felt like they had a deal, and that the deal was reneged on. Then you have others saying that Micah is so upset that he doesn't want a long-term deal. He meant what he said, that he wants to leave the Cowboys and will play this year under contract and then, go somewhere else, even though they can still tag him. So who knows? I think it can all be resolved. They both can do that when the time is right. We're just not there yet. But surprising. I'm just like you, like Coach. I'm surprised. I'm sure there's a reason behind everything. We just don't know what that is, what the thought process is.
It's stupidity that it's not done already, and from both sides, right?
Yeah.
I think Micah Parsons wants to be a Cowboy. He wants his long-term deal. I don't know why Jerry Jones hasn't picked up the phone and called David Mulligan or returned the calls that Micah said that he requested to put in. This feels very much like a pride thing on both sides. Just get the darn deal done so everybody can move on. I know Jerry had that comment about how controversy is good for the Cowboys, and I understand to a degree what he meant, but this isn't good. Don't be your team is distracted because of a contract negotiation. End it with a couple weeks to go to the season, and let's focus on Philadelphia.
The worm has turned on this thing, like in fandom with everybody. Like there is now such a thing as bad press. We've seen it now, and I also think that just to kind of piggyback on what Marcus said, Micah made a mistake, like and screwed up by going to speak to Jerry, by himself and not being willing to do the actual deal that he agreed to. He has to know that. Jerry made a mistake by thinking that a handshake deal was a good enough deal to kind of get this thing done. And let's, Jerry, come on, be serious. I mean, like, you needed to be better. So both of them need to be better and kind of, understand that this isn't exactly a situation that either of them have performed well in. And look, the other part of this too is that Jerry has all the leverage here. Like, that's the thing that's tough. Like, Jerry has a lot more leverage here than in the Dak situation, where he's done with franchise tags situation. They still have both of the franchise tags, like we mentioned, but Micah, in the acts of trying to regain leverage, can't take a sledgehammer to the situation more than the trade request. And I think that's why he's kind of pulled back to be quiet here, is because he knows that's kind of the final hand to play here. So the sides need to just kind of get to the table and work this out. It shouldn't take very long, but you got to both sides have to swallow some pride.
And when you say that, and I'm just asking this, let's just say the number was 40, let's just say for round number standpoint, and he does play for 24, or he sits out 1 or 2 or 3 games, how long does it take you to make up that $20 million void that you would put in there? And that's why Jerry knows he has the leverage here. He has the leverage. I'm like you. There's got to be a way to overcome and sit down and get this done. But I'm telling you, I've dealt with Jerry, and he's as loyal as it comes. And if you don't understand that, all you have to do is watch the Netflix series, and everybody that shows up to the Netflix series that is still loyal to him. And I mean, he gave me my first check, so I'm saying it in a little bit of a I'm on his side mentality. But I can tell you, he has got the red ass. I mean, you can tell he has got the red ass over this deal. And so now, does Micah, having played that card the way he played it, I mean, it's just, I think it shoved them so far apart. I don't know. I really don't. I don't have an answer for this.
Hey, Jerry Jones, if you want to send me a check, that'd be great. I'd sign up for that right now. I'll send you my address if you need it. Just let you know.
Check from Jerry Jones.
He said he wants that belt you got.
Yeah.
Done. 100,000.
100,000.
Oh, there you go. Enrolled nickels. That a boy.
Just split that Micah signing bonus to us.
Yeah, it's fine.
We'll send it right along.
Got the colors. You're all set.
Yeah,
Nice.
Of course.
All right. Before we go, what do you guys? What would? I mean, again, we don't know who's going to play, and we can't really take much from who does play. But anything you're kind of hoping to see or would like to see, if possible, on Saturday against the Ravens?
More Dallas Cowboys. more guys who I think are actually going to be on the team, after the season starts. So
I want to see Nate Thomas, the Cowboys left tackle, only played I think 9 or 10 snaps last week.
Yeah, he was out.
I want to see him play like a whole half, because number one, he needs the reps, and number two, he needs to be in condition, because there's a really good chance he's going to be playing a full game against the Eagles in week 1. It's a lot of snaps to be ready for, at least hopefully, on the Cowboys side of the ball. I'd like to see him more.
Yeah, let's see a little of what the one offensive line looks like. Let's see a little of Solomon Thomas. Let's see what they look like defensively up front, and see if we can give some sort of evaluation here Saturday night at 9:30 after Jeff's already been asleep for about 45 minutes. He has to get up and do this thing, so we'll be ready to go.
I'm actually a shameless plug. I'm doing the Cowboys national radio broadcast. So I'll be we'll start a few minutes late on Saturday night. I have to do like a little 5-minute post-game show, and then we'll start.
Look at you, Jeff. Nice.
I'll be awake. But with that said, Landon, Marcus, what do you got the rest of the week on the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast?
Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about training camp wrapping up, some of the biggest winners, losers. We're also going to talk about who could be next year's Nate Thomas, a guy that doesn't do a lot during this year's camp that could factor into their plans in 2026. So be on the lookout for that. Nice.
All right. Well, Landon, Marcus, Coach, listeners, commenters, can we see that belt one more time, Marcus?
Yeah,
before you got to do one more time.
You want the belt? You want the ring? Yeah. What do you want, Jeff? Here,
look at that. Look at that.
Get it all in the shot there, Marcus.
Here you go.
Come on.
So this is the Locked On Dynasty championship belt.
The ring.
One of these
the
big trophies. So you got all of it, all the hardware here. Jerry Jones
awesome.
wishes he had this.
I get up out of that chair and jog around one time like Buster Douglas after he beat Tyson. Let me see you.
That's what I feel like right now. Stretch, come on.
Jump down with the rafters for this next episode. It's going to be awesome.
All right, guys. We'll do it again on Saturday night. Don't forget to check out Marcus and Landon on the daily Locked On Cowboys podcast. The coach is on radio and TV, and we'll be back with you again after the Cowboys and the Ravens. This has been the Cowboys Squad Show.